head to your yard and set up that tiki bar. You're listening to Blame It on Buffett.
Well, I sailed from Lauderdale down to Key Largo, crossed the Gulf on a fast sloop, and I sailed the Abacos. As a kid I read Kon-Tiki, and now all the pirate books too. There's just so many places on my list to see. I'm going crazy just trying to choose.
Today on Blame It on Buffett, we have another trop rock musician as a guest. His name is Tiki Thom Starkey, and he has been a trop rock musician for quite a while now, but I only just discovered him recently, so I was very excited to have him as a guest on this podcast because if I hadn't heard of him, maybe other people hadn't heard of him, and his music is really fun and eclectic and really fits the trop rock vibe well. So I wanted to have him on to talk about it and just hopefully maybe share him with a few people listening that haven't heard him before. Before we get to the interview, I just wanted to say thank you to Mark Barato from the last episode for hooking me up with some awesome art from his shop. You can go check that out. The link is in the show notes for the last episode. And I just wanted to remind people that there is still a code you can listen to the episode. It's toward the end of the interview for a code for 20% off that shop of his, and the art is really awesome. So go check that out. And I also just wanted to say, that episode was really fun because I got a message from a listener that because of what Mark and I talked about on that episode, he decided to start his own creative thing that he had been wanting to do, but had been putting off, I guess, for whatever reasons people put things off. So thank you to anyone who listens to this and lets me know how it's affecting you. Did you like it? Did something we say mean something to you? Because that really matters to me. It means a lot. So definitely let me know if you listened to the episode and liked specific things, or, you took any information that you learned from the episode and implemented it in your own life in some way. The thing about this episode or this podcast is that I'm not in it to have a million listeners or anything, but I am in it to make connections with people and hopefully to have the people that do listen, it means something to them and they really enjoy it. So thank you so much for those of you who have messaged me or emailed me or contacted me in any way. And I just wanted to give another quick plug to the fact that I'm still trying to collect some Jimmy Buffett song stories. I don't have that many yet, and I'm hoping to get enough to do at least like a segment on episode. So if you have any Jimmy Buffett songs that really connect to a specific event or a specific time in your life, I mean, I know everybody has sort of favorite songs, but I'm really looking for a song that has a story connected to it for you personally. I want to hear about it. And you can message me on social medias. It's at Blame Buffett Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or you can just email me directly. It's blame it on Buffett podcast at gmail.com. So please, if you haven't sent me a story and you have one that you'd like to share, please do that. And I will read them on the podcast, hopefully at some point. If I don't get enough, then maybe I'll just post a few of them on my social media or something. But I think it'd be fun to do kind of a segment on an episode. So, okay. And so without further ado, let's get into the interview with Tiki Thom. And then I just want to say at the end of the episode, there's going to be a song. He sent me some music, so you're going to be able to hear a song instead of my normal outro music. Get to hear a Tiki Thom song. So stick around for that as well. But here's the interview. All right, welcome to this week's episode of Blame It on Buffett. My guest this week is Tiki Thom Starkey, who is a super awesome trop rock musician, and he is here to have a chat today. Tiki Thom, how are you?
I'm doing good. I don't know if I can live up to that intro though.
Well, I mean, it's my show and I say that you're awesome, so therefore you are awesome.
I
Who's
won't
gonna
argue.
disagree with me?
I won't argue with you then.
I am excited to have you on because I have listened to your music recently. So, many people who like trop rock know, or like any kind of music that generally falls into maybe the trop rock genre, there's a lot of trop rock musicians out there. And I feel like they're sort of, you tend to learn, at least I did tend to learn like your regional people, right? The people that come to your area the most to play, you kind of learn them first. And then maybe you go to an event that's further away and you learn about other people. Um, but you're like the furthest away from me. You're up in Maine, right? So that's, and I'm in Arizona. So I
Yeah.
feel like the further away people are geographically, that's the word. The longer it takes me to discover them. So what happened was, I think like you messaged me and were like, "Hey," or I messaged you, or something happened. But basically, like right before that, I had heard one of your songs on Radio Trop Rock, and I was like, "Oh," I think it was one of the ones about Key West, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. Like I really like this song." And then like the next day or something you messaged me and were like, "Hey, just thought you might be interested in my music." And I was like, "Why, yes, I am."
It's karma. It's karma.
Yeah, it totally
Yeah.
was. So yeah, it was just a fun coincidence, I guess, but then I was excited to have you on because I do really like to learn about new musicians. There's, like I said, there's a lot out there, so sometimes it takes a while, but it's fun to always sort of be able to discover new people, I guess. And I'd like to have new people that I sort of discover on this podcast to get the word out there about them to other people. So like maybe also other people like my friends in Arizona or people more on the West Coast haven't heard as you as much. So this is a fun way for them to learn about you.
Well, I appreciate that. It is. I go back quite a ways in trop rock music. So, and I've done gigs all over the country. Matter of fact, I had one of my CD release parties was in Phoenix a few years ago. So I know that area very well. And the funny thing is, you take 10 years ago. There was only a handful of trop rock radio stations. There are much fewer trop rock artists, and a lot fewer recordings and music that you could get from trop rock. And there was a lot out there, but not compared to the way it is now. It's kind of exploded.
Right.
So, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing because there's a lot more choice. There's a lot more excitement about trop rock music and that genre, which is, it's only good for us who, make a living doing that. So it's all good.
Right. So I guess like it might be easy to think like, oh, if there's more competition, then that's worse. But I think you're right that the more people there are, the more the genre gains ground as like a real genre that people who don't listen to the genre will know about and hear about. Because like when I learned about, so like my origins of liking trop rock are that I'm a Jimmy Buffett fan and always have been since I was born, basically, because of my parents. But it wasn't until I sort of moved down here and joined the Parrot Head Club that I was like learned that there's all these other musicians that kind of have that same vibe or fall into the same category. And so I feel like people learn about it in different ways, but I think the more musicians there are that sort of claim that as their musical style or their genre, and it's a very like wide ranging, like you can have totally different styles of music, but still kind of fall into trop rock if you fit that like kind of escapism
Well, it is,
vibe.
yeah, and that's I guess a challenge for trying to put it into a particular genre or category, because it is a little bit of everything. Even my CDs are eclectic, and I consider them trop rock. But I mean, I go from good old fashioned rock and roll 145, as we'd say in the music business, rock and roll, to a little jazz. Give Me a Keel is a very jazz kind of tune. And then I have my novel tunes that are just kind of silly, fun songs, and then you throw in some country rock in there, and so it really is very eclectic. But it talks about and shares feelings about a particular lifestyle, which can be anything from quit your job and move to Key West to build a tiki hut in your backyard, but make sure you have some sand, some water, and an adult beverage.
Yeah, I think the subject matter is definitely one of the things that tends to bring the different varieties of trop rock together. It's kind of like, okay, what are your? It's not so much like what's the musical style, but like what are the songs about? And if they're about basically all those things you just said, then that kind of qualifies you to be in trop rock. And I actually am really glad you brought that up, what you just said, because one of the things that I really wanted to ask you about was your music really is very eclectic, and in addition to the things you mentioned, there's also like Irish drinking song style, there's like piratey sea shanty style, there's like Hawaiian ukulele tiki style, um and I really enjoy that about it, because there's just something for everyone there. I feel like or everyone that like would be interested in trop rock, but the different sort of kinds of things that fall into trop rock, you have a little bit of all of it. How do you sort of decide what style? Is it kind of based on like what the lyrics are, then you decide on like the musical style, or how do you go about that
Well,
process?
that's a great question, but I don't know if I actually have an honest answer,
You
because
just write it.
well, you mentioned like an Irish drinking song. If you listen to my song "Just an Old Pirate," that's an Irish drinking song. I started that, just as an example. Just an Old Pirate was about my experience traveling a lot. I always ended up, once I got in at night, I'd end up in some lobby bar, having a drink late at night, just kind of chilling out from the day's travel. And every once in a while, I see somebody over in the corner, all by themselves. They're probably a local. They come in there, every night. And I often thought, they must have a story to tell, because sometimes they just look so sad and so alone. And one day I actually went over. Well, I did it more than once, but I went over and just, I'm a talker. I'm a hugger. You got to be careful if we ever meet. I mean, I just like people, and I
I mean,
and I
I'm
start
a hugger too under regular circumstances, so that's totally fine. It's just like right
right.
now, it's like kind of you're not supposed to hug people as much.
I know I'm having a hard time. I tell you what. So I went and talked to this gentleman. He was an older gentleman, very, very much like the song that I wrote, and he was sort of the inspiration. I got talking to him, and this is probably a little bit before your time, and it was before my time too. But he was a fair amount older than I was. Come to find out, he was the driver for John Wayne, the
Oh,
the
wow.
cowboy movie star. He was a taxi driver, and whenever John Wayne came into town, he would call this particular guy to come, and be his driver for him while he was in town. And they developed a friendship. So that created this song in my head that's, well, what if somebody walked into a bar and saw this old man at the end and went up and talked to him, and then this old man, who was Irish in the song, just kind of opened up and told his whole story, and it ended up being the last story that he was. This was his last night on Earth, and he knew he was going to meet his maker, and he wanted to share his regrets and his life's challenges with this stranger that he just met who bought him a drink. So that's one idea for one of the songs. When you say piratey songs, I have another one. That is very much, when you listen to it, you swear you're watching an episode of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
Uh,
I thought that exact thing when I listened to that song. I was like, "Wait, did my Spotify switch over? Like, am I listening to Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack now? Okay, no, it's just the song. Great."
yeah, so I mean, and that was actually produced by Kevin Johnston, with some help from some amazing musicians down in Nashville. It's called Port Royale, and it talks about something that happened back in the 1800s. So getting back to your original question, I'm kind of all over the place, but it all has to do with what you mentioned: a lifestyle, pirates and drinking and the ocean, and sort of living life on the edge, but really experiencing what life is, the good and the bad. So yeah.
Yeah, and as part of that lifestyle, your name is Tiki Tom, and you do have tiki sort of, some of your songs are kind of that sort of like tiki style and about tiki things. Is
Hmm.
that something that, like, how did you, do you have a tiki bar? Like, how did you become Tiki Tom? Because that's like tiki stuff is definitely, obviously fits very well into the trop rock lifestyle, but it's surprisingly not something that like everyone who likes trop rock or everyone who likes Jimmy Buffett. I mean, I guess like the tiki bar, like generic tiki bar is sort of like the classic like backyard bar, right? For that kind of
Right.
thing. But like the real like tiki there, because there's like real tiki fanatics out there, and like
Absolutely.
tiki culture is huge. But like not everyone is like as super into that. So like how did you come about the Tiki Tom thing?
Well, you're right. There are some real blue bloods when it comes to, when you start talking about tiki, and rightly so. I mean, there's a Hawaiian sort of island, uh, Pacific feel and culture there. So, and I've been to Hawaii. As a matter of fact, I had the fortunate opportunity to play on the beach at Waikiki
Wow.
once as a gig, and so that was one of my
Yeah.
favorites. I wish I could do that every week.
Yeah.
Um, but I also fell in love with that culture. So I guess superficially, I've always loved that culture. But I say that a little tongue in cheek because the true tikis, like you said, there's a lot of history and theme to that. But yes, to answer your other question, I do have what I call the tiki hut in my backyard. Um, it is a tiki bar. I have real beach sand, though I don't live on the ocean. If you go up into my second story and out on the balcony and tilt your head just right, you can see the ocean. I'm that close. But I do have real.
Ocean view.
It is ocean view, at least in the fall when the leaves go off the trees. But I have real beach sand that I got from a real beach. Well, I can't tell you which one because you never know who's listening.
Right. Is
Um,
it like a local, like a main beach
it
though,
is.
or is
It,
it?
it is. It is from a main beach, and I didn't go down and dig it up. So no emails, please. No, this was after a big storm. They had a lot of the sand had come up onto
Oh,
Publix and into private yards, and I happened to know somebody who had to clean their driveway off, and they had a lot of it. And this was gorgeous sand. This is like powder sand, and so he was nice enough to bring a big truckload over, and that's what I've got in there surrounding my tiki hut. And of course, it's all dressed up, and my wife is the queen of green thumbs. And so, if you walk in my backyard, quite honestly, you swear you've walked either into some lagoon in Hawaii or you're in Key West somewhere because the foliage and the lighting and the tiki torches, it's gorgeous. I've also built a stage so that during the summer, and of course the virus has really messed all that up, but I usually try to bring once or twice during the summer we'll have a concert right in my backyard, which of course, as a trop rock artist, depend on those
right.
backyards. And I have one. I've had a number of national trop rock artists come up and play with me in my backyard for events. So yeah, and it did inspire my song, my little tiki bar.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds amazing, and you already answered it, but my question was gonna be like, do you do house concerts there? Because that's totally. I mean, not that you have to have a fancy setup to do house concerts. Like you can just have a regular yard, but I feel like some of the venues that have become sort of iconic house concert venues
Hmm.
are like, they have a name, they have like the yard is all decorated in a specific way. They've built a stage, like you said. So that's really cool that like in addition to you being a musician, you also bring in other musicians to play, kind of just encourage the sort of like I do feel like there's like a lot of camaraderie in the trop rock genre. Like the musicians all sort of seem to be friends, like not competing really. Do you find that that's the case?
Oh, Leah, I tell you, this is the best group of people. And again, I tell you, I go back 10 or 12 years. Um, so I've got to know a lot of the ones that would be considered, very well known in trop rock. I consider most of them that I know not just friends, but good friends. And we've done a lot of things together. And I'm always just blown away when I get to be with them, because they are just really nice people. And I'm, I'll be the first one to admit I am not a great musician by any stretch. Compared to, I listened to Sonny Jim the other day. He was doing one of his live Facebook things.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you what, I'm just blown away just by the talent that these guys have, and the Donnie Brewers and those kind of guys, Jimmy Pappas and John Patty. I played with them all, and and most of the time I stop playing and just watch because they're just so good, and there's so many of them out there, and they're all just down to earth, really nice people. I consider many of them very good friends, and they've been sweethearts.
I love that. I mean, I've listened to your music, and I don't think you're a bad musician, but it is true that there is a lot of talent in the trop rock world. I also feel like, though, because it's really about the the feeling, right? Like the lifestyle, the vibe. I feel like there's more room there to not be like you can still be a huge, I mean, I guess it's relative, but like a big star, if you're going to call it that, in the trop rock genre, and not be like a like world class level musician. Like I feel like a lot of other genres, it's like you have to be the best to break into it. But like one of the things I love about trop rock is that like you don't have to be like an insanely, you can just be like a regularly talented musician, and people still embrace you and love you because it's about, it's about like the stories behind the songs and stuff. It's not like, oh, well, how good of a guitar player are you, or how good of a singer are you? Um,
Well, and you know who made that possible? Jimmy Buffett.
right,
Um,
exactly,
Now,
exactly.
I've never met Jimmy Buffett. I know a number of his musicians. Well, that travel with him. I've played with a few of them. I've had the honor of doing that. But I know for a fact that Jimmy has said and will admit that he's not a really good guitar player compared to, you know others out there. Um, but at the same time, and he doesn't have, he's not, Elvis Presley when it comes to voice. But what he has are amazing songs, and he sings them from the heart, and that's kind of, though, Jimmy's in his he's got he's in his own world. I don't know if I'd wrap a, trop rock genre around him, but certainly, I mean, everybody has to admit that's in this, that Jimmy Buffett at some point in their life and in their music has inspired, a song or two, if not more.
Right. I mean, he is the he is, even though like maybe we could retroactively call Jimmy Buffett's music trap rock because he inspired it. Like he really was the thing that started that as a genre. Like I'm not saying like there wasn't ever anyone else like off in some, bar or some backyard or something playing that, but like as a like well-known famous musician who became famous, like he really did that. He really just did his own thing, and what that thing was like different than anything else, and it became like you said, it became its own thing, and that was the thing that inspired trop rock. um so definitely like he was the one that started that, and like you said, it makes total sense because he isn't, the best, like he's not going to shred on the guitar, but like what he does is write amazing songs with amazing lyrics that tell amazing stories. And that is kind of like we talked about, become the thing that like ties trop rock together a little bit, even though musical styles are different. The musicians are like from totally different backgrounds, that kind of thing. Um so he definitely, I agree with everything you said. Like he's the inspiration for that. Did you Were you a Jimmy Buffett? Because I think there are some trop rock artists that sort of, not that they'd never heard of Jimmy Buffett, but they weren't huge Jimmy Buffett fans, but they just sort of started doing their own thing and then discovered that they, because of what they did, they had been I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, maybe even before trop rock really was like bigger thing, but like, were you a big Jimmy Buffett fan, or did you
No,
kind of
I can't
become
say I
more?
was. No, I can't say I was a big Jimmy. I mean, I'm certainly knew his music. I had, a couple of uh, his projects, but no, I wasn't like a parrot head person. What I was a person who would travel down to Florida every chance I got to
So
lay out in
Parrot
the
Head.
sun. Right. To lay out in the sun and just get out of the snow. And and if you ask me, how did I get into trop rock music? I can't think of one specific thing that happened that said, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do now." I really can't. I mean, I've been playing music forever, is since I was little, and I've gone through a lot of different genres, all of which I love. But 10 or 12 years or so ago, I just started writing some music about how much I hated snow. And the next thing I know, somehow I got, and I wish I could remember, but I got to listen to beachfront radio back with DJ Jeff Allen. And anybody that's in trop rock music that's been there for any amount of time will remember DJ Jeff. We lost him, unfortunately, a few years ago. But he was the king of trop rock radio, without question. And I was very fortunate that he heard my song "Bikinis and Martinis" and really liked it, and we became good friends. And as I tell many people, there would be no Tiki Thom without DJ Jeff, because he promoted my music, and then I got involved with Beachfront and did some promotional things with them, and it was it made me who I am now, because I got to meet a lot of these trop rock artists and realized how much we had in common and what we like to do, and it just grew from there.
Right. It was like, oh, I'm writing these songs because I have these feelings, but oh, look, there's a bunch of other people that have the same feelings.
Bingo, bingo. Yeah,
They
that was
know.
it. I'm not alone in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think living somewhere, I could say from personal experience, like I live in Arizona now, but I'm from Oregon, Central Oregon, so we would get snow, and uh it's funny because I feel like there's two types of musicians and two types of people who are listeners. And it's the type that already live in a sunny place. And so, like, that's what they know. So they're like, well, clearly, like your Sunny Jims, um, like those kind of people who like live in Florida. So, like, of course, they're just going to write. Because nobody who already lives in Florida writes about like wanting to go to like skiing or something. I mean, maybe there's people
Funny
out
how
there.
that
I've never
works,
heard a
huh?
song about that. And then
That's a
you
great
have your
idea, though. I think I might write one of those. Yeah,
Hey, there you go.
somebody mixed
First
up.
one I've
Yeah.
ever heard. And then you have your people who do live in wintry places, who then end up writing songs about wanting to go to the beach because they're sitting in 6 months of snow and being like, why am I doing this? um,
Exactly.
so it's like you kind of have those two types of people, but they all end up writing songs about the same thing, which is the beach.
Yeah,
But
good. Yeah, get away. I mean, my song "Someday, Some Way, Somehow" is about someone who's stuck in a cubicle, at
right.
work, and they just want to get to that little island. Um, just chillaxing is a similar song. Somebody's stuck at work and they don't want to be there. Um, so
Yeah.
and it's Fred Quisgard, who is my percussionist with the Beach Band, and he's played with a lot of the trop rock guys as well. He's very well known. Uh, Penned a song called Key West Attitude, and he brought it to me, and it was it was a great tune, and he wrote it about being stuck in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, in the winter at his house, and how he wanted to be in Key West. And that song did really well. That actually was chosen as one of the top 10 songs about the Keys from I think it was the Trop Rock magazine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I believe it was. I hope someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was
Nobody
the
fact check
publication.
that. Just take him at his word. Like,
Yeah,
don't
whatever
look
I
it
say
up,
is.
people. Just
Yeah,
say.
I would never lie. I would never
That's
lie.
great. Yeah, I think that might have actually been the one that I heard on uh when I was listening to the radio, and I was like, "Oh, this is this, I could get on board with this. You mentioned beachfront radio, and I want to make sure that we talk about this because you also have a radio show that you do. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, sure. Well, first of all, let me say I am honored and thrilled that we have so many different trop rock radio stations now, and the folks are doing great. I mean, it's become so professional, and again, I hand that off to DJ Jeff for really setting the bar very high when it came to being professional, and because there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of music, and there's a lot of radio stations now.
Yeah.
And some of them are very good, and some of them really aren't. And fortunately, majority of them in trop rock music are run by folks that, number one, know the technology, and number two, have the heart for the music. So that's really good. But Andy, who is now working as the head guy at Beachfront Radio, came to me with an idea. We're actually down in Key West, and he came to me after one of the gigs, and we were talking. He says, "Oh, he said I'd really like to do a show." He knew that a little bit about my history. I started a radio station, an actual brick and mortar radio station, WMSJ FM. I built it from scratch about 25 years ago. It's a Class A FM,
Oh,
and it
wow.
does contemporary Christian music. Which was one of the genres that I love. And he knew that. He says, well, he said, I'd love to have a program that I don't want it to be churchy. I don't want it to be overly religious, but, we all have this kind of inward part of us that is inspirational. We have feelings we want to be able to share. We go through these tough times in life, and a lot of the songs are about that. And he says, I'd like to, would you be interested in doing like a half-hour program using trop rock artists and their songs? Because all the trop rock artists have songs from the heart. We've already talked about that. So what I try to do is I pull 5 or 6 of those together for a program. And then I have a gentleman named Bry Harris. If you're in trop rock music, Bry. He's an amazing guy. He's does trop rock music. He's a ukulele player. His wife plays the steel drums, the Parrot Head Band, I think it's called. Yeah, but in any case, he's also a minister, and he's done some of the events for the trop rock folks. So he was nice enough to put together a little 1 to 2 minute message about different topics. Certainly the last couple times we've been talking about the virus and being locked inside, and yada yada. So I add that to it. So it's really kind of a really nicely well-rounded half hour that just kind of gets you going and lets you kind of realize that that life goes on. We'll get through everything, and we pick songs that help you feel that way. And they're primarily are from trop rock artists that have written these songs, and they all have the songs about life and love and songs that are inspiring. So that's the show. It's called Inspiration Isle, and it airs on beachfrontradio.com every Sunday. And these are Eastern times, 11 Eastern in the morning and 10 p.m. On Sunday. It's repeated. So, check it out if you would. Let me know if you know of a song, too. If you don't mind me saying, if you know of a song just that might be good in that format, let me know. I'm looking for trop rock artists primarily. And you can just send it to info@tikithom.com, Tom with an H. And I'll give it a listen.
Great. Yeah, maybe somebody out there will have some suggestions. Because that's the thing I think about trop rock is there's, like we talked about, there's a lot of musicians, and everybody kind of has, their main ones that they know and listen to, but because everybody's are different, their regions are different, you know, there's people out there that are like, oh yeah, like this person is a big trop rock musician, like plays all the time, and we love him or her, but then like somebody across the country is like, well, I've never heard of that person.
Right.
So hopefully, like, yeah, if anybody listening has any good suggestions,
Yeah, let
definitely
me
send.
know. I'm always open to listen to new things for sure. For sure, for sure.
And I think that's really, even especially in our current times. The theme of the show definitely seems like something that people need right now, and could use. I think we obviously everybody knows we're in some situations currently that people could use a little more inspiration than maybe they would normally need in life. So
Well,
I
Leah,
think
it's
timely.
yeah. I mean, even without the virus, we all have our moments and our challenges, and and when I do, music's a big part of getting me out of my mood, and making make me feel better, making me realize that I'm not alone, and that the sun will come out tomorrow, and you're not alone, and that's we all need that. That's why music is so important to me. It's the most important thing right now, aside from family and God. It's my music, and so I think even in my yearbook. In my yearbook. My quote in my yearbook, and this was back when they used to, before paper. I think the yearbook is actually written in stone, but I said, "Music is the universal language." That was my quote, and it really is. It doesn't matter where you're from or what your life experience is. Music will make you feel something, and good music with a positive message will make you feel good and positive. And
Yeah.
so it's very important.
Yeah, and I think that's why I mean, that's true of, like, everybody has their music that makes them feel that way, that does that for them, but I think the reason that trop rock is growing the way that it is because it offers something that not not all genres do, which is, you know, like the camaraderie and like we all love this thing together, but also the thing that we love is like if a lot of the songs are about escapism and you're listening, like say you are stuck in a cubicle 9 to 5 and you might not quit your job and move to Mexico or whatever, but listening to songs about quitting your job and moving to Mexico make you feel better about continuing to do your job. Like, oh, if I wanted to, I could quit my job and move to Mexico. Like people have done that. And so I think that's like the beauty of escapism music is it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do all the things that the music says or, totally uproot your life, but just listening to a story of someone else having done it, whether it's a true story or not, it makes you feel better, it makes you feel like, oh, that is an option. And then that makes maybe the worst moments in your life more bearable, right? Knowing that those things are out there and that's like a lifestyle that could be lived if you felt like you wanted to take that
Well,
leap.
and too, that's what's so cool about Parrot Heads and the Trop Rockers is that it is your escape. I mean, it doesn't have to be 24/7. Um, you don't. It doesn't necessarily have to mean you move to Key West, but what it does mean is that every once in a while you go to a festival, or you go hear one of your trop rock guys girls at a tiki bar somewhere, even if it's just for a couple hours. It kind of renews the fun part of your life, and that's what's really cool about it. I mean, majority of trop rock artists are not full-time musicians.
Right.
They can't be. It doesn't pay well enough. But and so they understand that even when they go to play for a couple hours, it's their escape, and they're helping other people escape. That when I play, I did 2 gigs yesterday. They were both on the beach, and the folks that were there were visitors from out of state that were up there to hang out at the beach. Um, and so it's their escape, it's their vacation, and so the songs kind of just reinforce the fact that, hey, it's okay to have fun, it's okay to enjoy yourself, even if you have to go back to work on Monday. There'll always be another Saturday or Sunday.
And I think that's so Jimmy Buffett especially has I mean there are younger fans out there for sure, but like has more older fans. And I think trop rock as a genre tends to lean that direction too. Although we are getting now starting to get like some younger musicians sort of joining the genre, which is really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think the thing is, like, it's really a genre, and the things that, like, everything we just talked about is relatable for everybody. So I think, like, the thing is, it's not like, oh, younger people won't like the music, or they won't like Jimmy Buffett. It's just that, like, they haven't really listened to it or
They haven't they
given it
haven't
a
sat in a
chance.
they haven't sat in a cubicle long enough.
That's
Um,
true.
but you make a good point. This song, a lot of the song, now long, some of the songs are just frivolous, and it is what it is. But a good many of the songs that are written, I mean, tell a story, and it's hard to tell a story until you experience some of life.
That's a good
Um,
point.
yeah, well, I mean, I wrote a song called "Limbo Sucks." Okay, it's it's a classic, let me say. Uh, but it talks about somebody who's like my age that goes to hang out on the beach at a beach party with somebody your age, and he regrets it. Um, but to your point, you know, number one, we are getting some younger folks, musicians in here, and that's awesome. You have to, if not, it dies off with every as we get older. And I don't think it's going to, because there'll always be that beach, there'll always be that sunshine, and there'll always be that want to go there. So it's great. I think it's awesome that we've got some young blood coming into this, but at the same time, um, I think they will, just like I did, they will grow with their experience. Their songs will change as they understand life more, and they get um, they get to experience uh, the importance of being able to get up in the morning and take a breath, and that comes with experience and age. Not to get, I mean, I'm getting a little too morbid here, but
No,
um,
no, not at all. I had
I,
never actually honestly thought of it from that, because I personally, like, all I can know is my own personal experience, and my own personal experience was, like, when I was 10, I was like, yeah, I want to quit my job and move to the beach. Like, I didn't have an actual job, but but like, growing up listening to
I
Jimmy
was going to
Buffett.
say, what, that sounds like child endangerment or something
No, no,
there.
no. It's more, I guess maybe I just always was like an old soul, but, like, I just, like, that really like, Jimmy Buffett's music really hit home with me in those ways, even though, like, I hadn't necessarily experienced all of those things. It was almost like I knew that someday I was going to get a job and work all the time and want to move to the beach. Like, it was just like, oh, well, that's just what you do, right? So, like, I'm like pre wanting to move to the beach before I'm even there. But I do think that that's a good point, which is, not everybody maybe can relate to some of those things if they until they get a little more life experience. I think Jimmy Buffett, like, because he has, like, such a wide range of music, maybe is his own thing now. That's a different thing. But, like, the general idea of escapism music, like, yeah, if you're 20 and in college in Florida or something, like, maybe you don't really need that in your life, because you're like, well, that's just, like, what my life is already. um but especially to I hadn't really thought of it from the perspective of, like, writing the songs. um Not to say that younger trop rock musician songs aren't great. Like, I have there's a lot of them coming in that I really enjoy, but you're right in that, like, the stories, a lot, it seems that a lot of trop rock songs are really based on life experiences, whether those are embellished for a song or not. But, like, the base thing is, like, the story you told earlier of, like, talking to this guy, and, like, you don't if you're not if you haven't lived life as long, you don't have as many life experiences to pull from.
And I
um
think, but that's true for any real songwriter. I mean, some are gifted at a very young age to write amazing songs, and not just obviously in trop rock. I mean, just look at some of the folks that have made it over the years, and that are out there now. There's some amazing musicians and songwriters at a very young age. But for me personally, I have to. You can write you can write songs, I mean, how many trop rock songs use, say, palm trees and sunshine and
right.
pina coladas, and um, you know and but and it's hard not to put those in your song when you're writing trop rock music and you're writing about, the sun and the fun and, et cetera, et cetera. But the real challenge from songwriting is can you tell that story without necessarily being so generic as to use, toes in the sand
Right.
as a lyric. And I find that that's kind of tricky sometimes. Um, but that's when I really relate to, well, okay, Tom, let's put brakes on here. And what are we really trying to say in this song? And many times what I'll do is I'll write a little story, not a novel, maybe just a paragraph or two about what this song is. What am I trying to say? Who am I trying to say it to? I've written a couple songs, regarding my relationship with my wife, and that there's that way. It tends to be a little bit more personal, but at the same time, as a songwriter, I got to make sure I'm not just singing this to my wife. I want everybody or as many people as possible to relate to this song, and they can relate, the same feelings. And then, if I do it with a ukulele, it sounds like a trop rock song.
Ukulele is great. I do love me some ukulele. um, yeah, but I think the thing about that is maybe like you develop that more as you go through life, right? You live your life longer. But like you have to start somewhere. So if your first song is like sun and fun, then like at least you wrote a song, and then maybe like the longer you're in the trop rock genre, the more like that will develop, the more you kind of like have
Yeah, I mean, and I think anybody that's in this business, and I've been a radio programmer um, for a living for a while too. And some people are good at what they do, and some people shouldn't be doing it. And fortunately, the ones now that are, for the most part, that are making it on the radio are songs that are worthy to be there. And it's not to say that, if you have a song in your heart, you have something you want to write down, do it. But I think trop rock now, fortunately, has got to the level where it's much more professional than it was a decade ago. Certainly, the production has much better than it was when I first started. And so you really have to put some effort and time and thought if you're going to, and that's across any genre. But trop rock has really stepped up to have the same production qualities as the big boys, and I think that's important too. We should.
well, and you come from like a production tech background, right? Because I feel like I don't know a lot about production or music. Like I'm like, oh, I like this or I don't like this, but like my husband is more musical, and he'll listen to something and be like, wow, the production on this is really bad, and I'll be like, I don't know, like it sounds like music to me. So I'm sure like you come from more of that as a background, so like do you approach, does that affect how you approach listening to music and creating your own music?
Well, creating my own. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm some audiophile. I mean, I do my degrees in television and film production from Full Sail, which is a very well known recording engineering, and they're big into all kinds of uh, things now. But so yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up in that atmosphere. Starting a radio station from scratch. I mean, that's all of that. But with that said, I'll bring myself down a few pegs and tell you that my very first CD, which is Bikinis and Martinis, I basically produced with a keyboard. And then I had a guy named Jim Dusso, who's a local engineer and amazing musician, sweeten it up for me, mix it up. He added some guitar parts and some other things. But that was my first CD. I mean, I basically did it in my house. When I got to my second CD, then I was blessed to find Kevin Johnston, who has produced quite a few trop rock artists projects, and if I compare the production quality from the one I did with a couple that Kevin produced, I mean, it's night and day. However, you make a good point that a lot of folks don't listen to songs like I listen to songs, and that's good. Or my first CD wouldn't have gone anywhere. Um, but it's like anything. I mean, yes, I listen for that because I'm a musician and I've spent a lot of time in a recording studio. So when I hear something that's bad, it really sticks out to me. But that doesn't mean it's a bad song. It doesn't mean that somebody else isn't going to love it. So you have to kind of be careful. I mean, I do the same thing when I put songs together for my radio show. I have people sending me things and some of them I cringe and go, I can't put that on the air. I mean, they sing it from the heart, but it's not really very good. Not any of the trop rockers we know. I mean, these are folks that are, send me things from all over. But I come from a very humble, belief that this person went through the trouble of putting this together and they really love it. But I'm not an astronaut for a reason, because I'm not good at it. And
How do you know
so
you're not good at it?
because
Have you ever
loud
tried
noise,
being an
loud
astronaut?
noises scare me. Is that
Oh, okay, yeah, that's probably
so?
yeah,
Yeah.
that
So,
might be.
anyways, it is a wonderful it's a wonderful genre, and there's a lot more people getting into it, but that means that there are some challenges there, because now all of a sudden, like when I was there, when I started, we had one like full-time internet radio station, and then two or three trop rock shows, that were like half hour on like real radio stations that were rebroadcast on the internet. And now you've got all kinds of them, and we've got all kinds of new music and artists and genre, which is good on one sense, but it's kind of hard for the listener, like you were mentioning. What there's so many out there. How do you find the ones that you like? Um, and and then you have the guys and girls that are very, very well known in trop rock, and then you have those of us kind of the next tier down, which I consider myself, are the ones that are kind of known, but we're not necessarily playing all the big festivals all the time. And then you have the folks that I love listening to the most, which are the local guys and girls that may play out once or twice a month, that have some amazing tunes, that are great musicians, but because of just where they are in life, they're just not willing or capable or want to go full time into music. As a matter of fact, a lot of the musicians that I know locally that are amazing, they've got full time jobs and family, and music is kind of a hobby for them. But they're amazing musicians. And David Good is one. I'll give him a plug. He wrote he wrote 35 Below, which was one of my really popular songs. And I like his production better than mine. I would never say that out loud to anybody. I wouldn't say
Don't
that on
worry,
a podcast or anything, but
don't worry, nobody's listening. It's fine.
I'll stop that. So it's you really have to take it from the heart, where the people come from, what they're writing, and it's an exciting time to be part of trop rock, and we appreciate people like you that are bringing some young blood and some thoughts and some new ideas to it. So much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Yeah, I'm trying. The thing I will admit that I am guilty of being the person that just listens to like the same four bands. Like I listen to Jimmy Buffett. I listen to like the same like three bands that I listened to in high school. Like I'm I'm not generally like a person that like one of those people, right, that's super into music, goes out, is like hearing new stuff all the time. I'm just like, well, I know I like this thing, so I'm gonna listen to it. Um, and that was true like in my early days of trop rock too. Like we would have the same four musicians come and play in Tucson, and so those were the trop rock musicians that I knew, and those were like the ones that I liked, and and like you said, it's sometimes hard to find the new music, to hear new people, and especially if you're like me and tend to just default to listening to stuff you already know. But I think that's why, like you mentioned, it's really good that we have all these different trop rock music radio stations now, because I sort of had to force myself to start listening to them, because I was like, well, I know that I like this thing, right? Like, I know I like Jimmy Buffett, so I could just listen to Jimmy Buffett. But I was like, but no, like, I want to discover some new people. So, like, I started listening to the trop rock radio stations more. And, like, the more you listen, the more you then, like, start to know the songs that play regularly, right? And then
Mhm.
discover new songs. So, um, I would highly recommend, if there's anyone out there listening that's like me, that just is like, well, these are the 4 bands I like, so I listen to those 4 bands, which I am totally guilty of that. Like, make an effort to listen to, like, like Beachfront Radio, Radio Trop. There's like a bunch out there. They're all great. Um, just pick one, or, switch off. I sometimes switch off and just listen on different, like, because it's also true that, like, different ones play different music, right? So you want to kind of, like, try a variety, but, like, go out there and give it a shot, because, like, this is how you're going to discover and there's so many trap rock artists out there. And it's a great way because you can be like, oh, I really like this song. Like, I'm going to go look at my app or my computer or whatever and see who played that. And then you can, like, go out and purposely listen to more of that person's music. Um, so it's a great way to discover new people.
Well, and once this whole virus thing gets put to bed, hopefully, Lord willing, soon, and we can get back to gathering as as people. I would also encourage to go out and as they have these festivals and trop rock events. That's a great place. Or if there's somebody in your neighborhood or in your region that has backyards, or they're having a backyard, that's a great way to discover trop rock music as well. Particularly with the festivals of the Parrot Heads, they're doing things all the time. Every state has one, at least, if not multiple, Parrot Head clubs that are inviting these trop rock artists in to play. Um, and a lot of times it's they have 3 or 4 different artists coming in. So definitely keep an eye out for that once we get back to normal. And that's a wonderful place to really get to hear, not only hear, but to meet them, because I have never been to any festival. I don't care how big a trop rock festival it is, where the artist, before or after the performance, is not willing to just kind of hang out and just talk. I mean, you might have to buy him or her a beer, but I mean, you can sit down and talk with them. Trust me, they're all willing to talk. They love to talk about their music, and they appreciate people listening.
Yeah, I think that's one of the other really great things about trap rock generally as a genre, is that, like, all the musicians are super friendly, super approachable. Like you said, they will all just hang around after the show, even if it's not like at your house, but at an event. They're willing to chat, and it's just that's just something you don't really get in, like, any other genre. Like, what other genre can you just, like, meet every musician and, like, hang out and, like, have a drink with them and talk with them? I think it's one of the things that makes trop rock really special.
Yeah, and it does, and even I mean, I remember my first gig that I did. I wasn't on stage with her, but she had her own band, and all the different bands and musicians were backstage. And Nadira Shakur, who is
Oh, yeah.
the backup singer for Jimmy Buffett. She's such a sweetheart. Um, and I mean, her and my wife became close friends for that, an hour backstage. And of course, I mean, even at that level, they just, they're real people. And, and that just makes you feel good, and that goes for all of his musicians. And certainly they're pressed for their time. They understand that, um, uh, in a normal situation, they're going to have thousands of people that want to talk to them. But if you can catch them in a trop rock event where it's smaller and a little bit more intimate, they kind of loosen up, and they're just wonderful people.
Yeah. Well, even the fact that they come and play at Meeting of the Minds every year, like, as a full band. I mean, like, I know Jimmy's not there, but, like, all the rest of them, like, that's really that they don't have to do that. Like, they do that because they know that, like, the people that are at Meeting of the Minds are, like, the people that are super excited to see even them, without Jimmy. We're like, yes, like Coral Reefers, great. Like, play us the music. Like, we want to hear you. So I think that's something like pretty special too, that they're willing to do that every year. And Meeting of the Minds, like you said, a great way to learn about new musicians is like to go to Parrot Head events, go to Trop Rock events. And Meeting the Minds is like, there's more musicians than you could ever listen to in in a week, and so I mean, all the events are great for that, but if you want to like get the most like volume of musicians in one place, and I know not everyone can go to Key West for that, but if you can and you want to learn about, like, I've learned about so many new musicians just from going to Meeting of the Minds and just like going to like songwriter showcases or things where like multiple musicians play, and I might have gone to see someone specific, but then there's three other people that I'm like, whoa, this, I love this person, like I didn't even know that they were
Right.
in this genre.
And of course, this year's the Meeting of the Minds has been canceled because of the virus,
Right.
unfortunately. However, a lot of the Trop Rockers are trying to put things together. I'm tentatively scheduled to be down there
Oh,
to
great.
do a bunch of things at um, let's see, where am I? Well, there's a bunch of places I'm going to be, but so that's, and you're right. I mean, I love going down there because I get to see all my musician friends, because everybody who's anybody is there, whether they're playing a lot or just a little. You just walk down Duval Street and you see somebody or you'll hear some new music. And yeah, so stay tuned. Hopefully, when it gets closer, you can do a podcast about what's going on down there. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
and if they keep it open or they reopen it, I mean, everything's so up in the air right now, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was scheduled to go to Meet the Minds this year. I'm unfortunately probably not going to go now because I have like like immunity issues. So like even more than a regular person, I like can't really be doing things.
Mm,
Um, but it is nice that like some of the musicians have banded together to like still make something happen there, because I know there are still people that will want to go, and who knows what it'll be like at that point, but like the fact that the musicians still want to make something happen, for the fans and for people who are willing to go to that, I feel like really says a lot about how the trop rock community is like a community.
right, for sure. And I mean, we haven't really even touched upon all the things that the Parrot Head clubs and the Trop Rockers do, for charity. It's the heart here is within these folks are truly, truly pure, and not to mention fun.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about the Parrot Head Club, the trop rock community. Like, they're not just in it to party, they're in it to help other people.
Party
um
with a purpose. That's
Party with a purpose. And that's a part of what makes it special too. I but I wanted to talk a little bit about, because of COVID and everything. Obviously, a lot of shows have been canceled. You've mentioned that you've still been playing some shows in person, which is great. But also, I know a lot of musicians have been doing sort of like virtual
Mhm.
shows. Have you done anything like that, or are you
I
interested in doing
have. I have actually. I did probably during the heart of this whole thing back in. Well, I played down in Florida. I had some gigs down there in March, I think it was. I'm trying to think back. March or April, maybe mid-April. Um, and half of them got canceled, but the other half were good. So I, still made the trip. Um, and then I came back here to New England for the summer because this is where the majority of my work is during the summer when all the beach bars open up and the et cetera, along the coast. And but as I was waiting for that whole transition, once I got back from Florida, I did do some Tiki Thom Tuesdays live from the house. I may do some more now, if so. Um, I had fun doing them, and then I just I started getting busy. I'm doing 3 to 4 gigs a week now, so setting things up and trying to do that is a little bit more challenging, especially if you're doing it live. But I think I might, now that it's warmed up, I may try to set up some stuff outside in the tiki bar, in my
cool?
tiki
Yeah.
hut, and do one from there. Um, But it has been a challenge. I've been very fortunate that, although a lot of the gigs that I had have either been canceled or, someplace I normally play 5 or 6 times during the summer, I'm only playing 3 now because certain days they just don't have music like they used to. But I've been able to pick up other things. People are now, particularly up here, it's not quite as bad as in other areas. So people are starting to have gatherings of, up to 50 people. So they're starting to do their backyards. There's a lot of events. People just getting outdoors and saying, please, come play music.
Right.
So from there, I'm doing okay. I mean, I double gigged yesterday. I had one in the afternoon and one in the evening. I was supposed to have one today, but it got canceled because they're not doing music on Sundays anymore. And this is when we're recording this. So, but that worked out good because I get to be on your podcast.
Yeah. Lucky for us.
Yeah.
Well, if you do end up doing any more virtual shows, definitely let me know because I would love to watch. And also, I can, share it on my Facebook pages and whatnot. Because I feel like I know that when musicians actually can do like their full-time regular schedules, obviously not like it is right now, but like under normal circumstances, they might not really have time to do these kinds of virtual shows. But I hope that maybe that now this has become such a sort of normalized thing that a lot of musicians are doing, that maybe they'll sometimes, even when things get back to normal, they might still do them
I think
sometimes,
you're
because
right. Yeah.
I know that there's tons of musicians that I only get to see maybe once a year at Meeting of the Minds or something, but I definitely, if they did a virtual show a couple of times a year or however often they have time, I guess, I would totally tune into that and like donate money, to watch them play, because that's the only chance that I get to watch them play most of the time. Because that you don't, always get to see musicians
Oh,
live. And I know that's not in person, but like it's still live in a way that like listening to somebody's album isn't, so
yeah, and they and they share, and it's very interactive. Most of them are, especially the live ones, and some of these guys have the technology down pat. I mean, I'm going to have to up my game here because I mean some of them have got 2 cameras working, and their sound system or their sound coming through sounds like you're listening to a CD. Um, and I as a trop rock singer songwriter, I love doing that. I love watching those guys and girls, because it's kind of like you're getting your own show.
yeah.
And yeah, and I get guitar lessons too. That's what I told Sonny Jim the other day when I was listening to him. I said, I just sent you a tip, not only for the amazing music, but also for the guitar lesson. Uh, because I always
Yeah.
learn something watching him play. So
You're like, okay, what did he do there? Let me.
yeah.
Yeah, and Sonny Jim is definitely one of the ones that like has really upped his production game over the course of like from when this started to now. I have even mentioned that on the podcast before, but I think even since I mentioned it, the last time, like now he has they added like a new cam shot that's like the dog cam that's like low down by his feet, and they'll like cut to it and you can see his like cute dog like hanging out at his feet. I don't like, it's just like that's like okay, like great,
Oh,
like
great! Now I got to go out and get a dog to keep up with Sonny Jim. Life.
oops, sorry.
Yeah,
I think a tiki bar is like that. That's all I need is like if you're just doing it in a tiki bar, then
I'll work on that.
that's plenty of entertainment. um, but yeah, definitely let me know if you do that, because I would be for sure interested in checking that out.
I
And
appreciate it.
it's a way to see new musicians, learn about them, see them play when who knows when I might get to see you play in person down the line, but whenever that may be, I will
Hopefully
definitely
soon.
yeah,
Hopefully
hopefully.
soon.
Um, and I just want to like ask you a little fun personal question, not like super personal, but before we go, do you have, it sounds like you've played in a lot of places, like you
Mhm.
mentioned Waikiki and like Key West, and like, do you have a favorite place to play or a favorite place to travel?
Any place warm is good.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. Which is why a lot of people, they question, "Oh, you're in trop rock music and you're from Maine. How can that be?" Um, and I think it really is nondescript as far as location. because every part of trop rock music talks about something that we all enjoy doing, whether that's being on the beach, being on the water, whether that's a lake or a river or the ocean. So it doesn't really matter where you're from. But for me, I'm very fortunate. I love Maine, and there's no better place in the summer to be. Like today, it's a little warm for us up here, not certainly compared to what you get there in Arizona, but I mean it's in the mid 90s today, and a little bit humid because I am close to the water, but it's still gorgeous. The next day it'll be 80 and a nice cool breeze from the ocean. There's no better place to be than here, but when it gets cold, to answer your question, yeah, Florida is my home away from home. I used to actually have a condo down over in Melbourne, and my son lives in Tampa, so either coast is a favorite of mine. And I have an RV, my Tiki Mobile, and so we travel with that. And we'll be doing more traveling in the next couple of years. So yeah, I guess that would
Cool.
be my favorite place.
I think I saw a picture of your RV on your website, and it's
I'm
like,
I'm
"Come
very
and stay
proud of
like,
my
maybe
RV.
RVing around." But yeah, it seems like a lot of the tropic musicians are kind of, doing that. Like, I know, like, Donnie Brewer, like, does his RV, and, like, I
Mhm.
know, they're not musicians, but, like, Eric and Gina from Radio Trop Rock, when I
Right?
interviewed them, they were just in their RV, they, like, just travel around, and,
Hmm.
it seems like a really great way to, like, kind of live that lifestyle while you're writing about it, is, like, just, like, traveling on your own terms, kind of through all the different places that you play, and getting to kind of have your home away from home in that sense, I guess.
Yeah, it is if you can do it, and some can do it full time, and that's one thing. I like my house. I like to be able to come back, but I mean, some have say we're going to take 2 or 3 years, and we're going to live in our camper RV, which is kind of cool too. But I find it a great way of traveling to gigs when we can, when we schedule it that way, because you're bringing your home with you, and that's way better than trying to stay in a hotel somewhere, for sure.
Yeah.
I like that part.
Is it this is I'm totally, like, such a wuss, but, like, it seems super scary to drive something that large, like, is it hard to drive, like, a giant
No, I tell you,
vehicle?
and some are bigger than others. I mean, my Winnebago is 30 foot, so some of the guys like A1A guys and Donnie, they've got much bigger rigs, and they're pulling a car or a Jeep behind them. That to me would be scary.
Yeah.
But the challenge, but mine, I mean, mine's a big Class C for Class C, but it drives like just a regular car. The challenge is just getting gas, because you have to, excuse me. I mean, just getting in and out of a gas station can be a challenge, because you got to
Yeah.
take these wide turns, and yeah, so that can be scary. And don't ask me to back the thing up. I got a backup camera. I hate backing up.
I, like, don't like backing up in my car, and it's just, like, a regular size car. Yeah, I feel like like, in my dreams, I'd be like, "It'd be so cool to, like, have an RV and travel around," but also I'm like, "But also I don't wanna be the person that has to drive it, so, like, can I just, like, hire someone to drive me around?" I cannot. I do not have the money to do that, but
Well, it's
maybe
like anything.
someday.
You get used to it. I mean, you get used to it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
still don't even like. I don't like backing into my yard. Even
yeah.
I took the mailbox out once, but I didn't say that out loud.
I guess it's I guess it's nice when you have someone with you that you can, like, make get out and, like, stand behind and be like, "Okay, little
Yeah,
more,"
they get out and go, "You're gonna hit the mailbox,"
and then you do it anyway.
and then I do it anyways. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so very helpful to
yeah,
have that.
and then won't let you forget it.
Right, right. Yeah, that's important. So you don't do it again next time though, really,
No, I missed it the next time. Yeah.
Well, before we go, do you wanna talk about any upcoming gigs you have, or where people can find you on social media?
Sure. Well, if you want to find out where I'm going to be, particularly if you're up in the New England area, come up for vacation or something, you can just go to tikithom.com, and that's Tom with an H, Tikithom, Tiki Tom. And I keep everything, try to update there. There's schedule, that's my website. Or you can just do a Tiki Thom Starkey Starkey, on Facebook. Love to have you as my friend. Got plenty of room for more. And if you want to look for any of my music, easiest thing to do is just do a search on Tiki Thom, Tom with an H, or Tiki Thom Starkey, and it'll pop up. On my website, I have all my CDs, and you click and it'll take you to Amazon, I think, officially, but you can get it at iTunes or anywhere else that you download, questionable music.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. It was a great time, and I do hope that I get to see you play live sometime, whether that's if you do a virtual show or maybe Meeting the Minds or something. It was really lovely to learn about you and to chat with you.
Well, yes, I appreciate the opportunity to do that, and I do look forward to seeing you sometime soon.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
Bye. Okay. Thanks for listening to that. I hope that you enjoyed it. In what episode will I stop saying that I hope you enjoyed it after every interview? I don't know. Maybe never. You'll just have to deal with it, I guess. But I do. I really hope that you're enjoying the show. And all of the people that I interview, I find them very interesting. It's so fun to talk to them. It was great to talk to Tiki Thom about his music, about his inspirations, kind of his trajectory in the trop rock genre, because I know everybody comes to it in different ways. It's really interesting to talk about or to talk to the musicians, excuse me, about how they got into trop rock, because some were like, oh, trop rock is great, I'm going to be a trop rock musician. And some were already kind of a trop rock musician, but they didn't even know trop rock was a thing. And some aren't even really trop rock musicians, but they've been accepted into the trop rock genre by fans. So I always find that interesting to find out how people sort of fell into this community, because like we talked about in the episode, it is a really great community to be a part of. And that's part of why I enjoy doing this podcast so much, is everybody has different things that they enjoy. And there are trop rock music podcasts out there. John Burns is doing a really great podcast right now called Trop Rock 101. If you haven't listened to that, go check it out. That's going to be all trop rock guests all the time, and that really gets into this people's stories, the history of trop rock, and that kind of thing. So if you're interested, if you listen to my podcast mostly for the trop rock interviews, and not so much for the other episodes, you definitely are going to want to check that podcast out. But the reason that I am doing what I'm doing, which is a variety of interviews and guests, is that I would really like to make my podcast accessible for a variety of people. So if you have interests, say you're interested in trop rock, great. You might listen to the musician interviews. Maybe you don't listen to all the other interviews, and that's fine. But if you're not super into trop rock, but you're into other things associated with the Jimmy Buffett lifestyle, then I want to do something for you too. And I have many, many interests. I have a very wide variety of interests. So I also find it hard to just limit myself to just interviewing certain people. I want to interview anyone that I find interesting, or I like the thing that they do, or the thing that they make, or the, nonprofit that they've started, or really whatever. And I think that then offers episodes to other people who might want to listen to certain things. I know probably some people that listened to my last episode with Mark, we talked a lot about marketing and podcasting, and that was really interesting to me. And but maybe a lot of the people that listen to the trop rock musician episodes were like, okay, well, we don't really care about this, because we really are in it for the trop rock, which is totally fine. But also, like I said, I had someone listen that that part really meant a lot to them. And so you never know what's going to hit home with someone. So I want to make sure that we're really just following our hearts, covering all our bases in terms of what kind of content we put out there. And like I always say, if you have an idea for, um, a kind of thing that you'd like to hear about, a company or a nonprofit, or, a musician, obviously, I do get a decent amount of musician interviews, suggestions, but But if you have something outside of that that you are like, oh, I really wish you would, interview like somebody that sails and talk about sailing, or I really wish you would interview X person, kind of person or topic, please let me know that, because like I said, I really am open to a wide variety of things and I enjoy a wide variety of things. So I'd be happy to pursue, as long as it falls generally under the Jimmy Buffett escapism lifestyle umbrella. I'd be happy to look into it and possibly do it. So please let me know. Once again, you can email me at blameItonBuffettPodcast@gmail.com, or Blame Buffett Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or just Blame It on Buffett Podcast on Facebook. If you just search for the name, you should be able to find it. And please go check out Tiki Thom's website. Check out his music, listen to his radio show. I really think that his music has something for everyone. Like we talked about, there's a lot of different styles of songs. So I think that everyone could find something that they'll really enjoy there. So go check it out, listen to it. Let me know if you enjoyed it. I will definitely try to share if he does any virtual shows or anything like that that people can then watch. So make sure you're following my social media if you want to be able to learn about stuff like that. And let's see, anything else? A couple people, more people have left me reviews on Apple Podcasts. I really appreciate that. If you're listening on Apple or another platform that has a review system, like, I love it so much. If you could give me a rating, if you want to write something, that's even more awesome. Um, it just helps visibility on Apple, like the more ratings and stuff you have. And I just want to be able to get this podcast out there, share it if you know someone that you think might be interested. Um, like I said, I'm not in it to have a million followers, but I am in it to have anyone that like might really be interested listen. So if you think you know someone that would really enjoy it, then please share with them. And until next time, I usually have been closing with fins up. Um, I feel like I want to establish a like real, like, say it every time sign off. Um, and fins up is great because most people listening to this know what that means, but maybe some don't. And I feel like one time I did the Captain Ron quote, if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen out there, which is one of my favorite quotes. And I might switch back to that. We're going to give it a shot today and see how it feels. If you have thoughts on what my sign off should be, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. But I think it really embodies people might not know that's from Captain Ron. It's fine. But I think it really embodies the point of this podcast, which is like, I've started it to do something a little outside my comfort zone, to get out there, to experience things, to talk to people. And on the podcast, I want to, like you may have heard in the last episode, like really encourage other people to pursue things that they want to do. If you want to be a musician, give it a shot. If you want to start a podcast, there's a million reasons not to do things. And you just need to start doing it if it's something that you're passionate about and something you want to do, because it's never going to be perfect. And I'm definitely a victim to that. Like, well, I don't want to do it if it's not going to be like the best thing it could be right off the bat. But especially with podcasting, and I'm sure with other things like music, like you just have to start doing it. And then you can always change things, improve things from there. And I really feel like, even though that's not how Captain Ron intends it in the movie, really, he's mostly just trying to like get them to shove off from the dock. But I think for me, that quote really can embody all of that. And also, it's from Captain Ron, which is one of my favorite movies. Speaking of Captain Ron, really quick plug. Hopefully, it's likely that this Wednesday evening, probably a little bit after 6 PST, Pacific Standard Time, I think like 6:30ish, I'm going to be doing an interview. No, sorry, not an interview. well, she's going to be interviewing me, I guess, kind of. My friend Sarah has a program called Sarah Homework where she experiences new things that she's never done before and then talks about them, reviews them with the person who really likes that thing. So she's never seen Captain Ron. So we're going to be doing a review of Captain Ron. So and it's going to be on Instagram Live, I believe. So if you follow me on Instagram at Blame Buffett Pod, hopefully if all goes to plan at 6:30ish, this coming Wednesday, you can watch me and Sarah live talk about Captain Ron on Instagram. So, and I know I've said it before, if you don't have Instagram, like, totally understand. There's like a million social medias, but Instagram's really the one that I like the most and use the most. So if you want to see the most content from me in terms of like photos and stuff, definitely follow me on Instagram because that's where I spend most of my time social media wise. So check that out on Wednesday. I think she posts the video after the fact. So like if you don't watch it live, like you can still watch it, and I'm sure I'll probably post it on my social media so you can find that. But yeah, check that out. Yeah. And until next time, if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen out there. So get out there, live your dreams, you guys.
Window of my landlocked northern town. Can't see past the snow and cold, but hell, that won't get me down. Trying to reason winter season, it's a waste of time at best. But in my mind, it's island time. I gotta leave this frozen mess. My house is full of palm trees. I got flip-flops on my feet. Blender serving boat drinks, oh that rum, it's tasting sweet. So screw the cold, let Jack Frost blow. I'm gonna change my frigid mood, and I'll pass the day the island way with a Key West attitude. A Key West attitude. Key West attitude. Just the locals and their guests, while down Route 1 in the land of the sun is rocking in Key West. Smiling faces toast the sunset at a jam-packed Mallory Square. And it's a treat crawling Duval Street as magic fills the air. Well, my house is full of palm trees. I got flip-flops on my feet. The blender's serving boat drinks, oh that rum, it's tasting sweet. So screw the cold, let Jack Frost blow. I'm gonna change my frigid mood, and I'll pass the day in an island way with a Key West attitude. Key West attitude. Key West attitude. Beachside bars for a margarita and beer. Like surfers seek out a perfect wave in the shadow of a pier. Teeny girls with sun-bleached curls swirl heads as they pass by. But I'm knee-deep in slush and snow, just asking myself why. I got a house full of palm trees. I got flip-flops on my feet. I finished off the boat drinks and I'm cranking off the heat. So screw this cold, let Jack Frost blow. I'm gonna change my frigid mood, and I'll pass the day the only way with a Key West attitude. A Key West attitude. Key West attitude. Key West attitude. Key West attitude.